Hey everybody, I am Brady Briggs. Welcome to another episode of the Combat Logic.
What's up, guys? I'm here to recap UFC London. Just got finished with an anticlimactic main event. The second anticlimactic main event in a row. All right, so if y'all remember correctly, last weekend our main event was Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. Well, we got a shoulder injury that stopped that fight in the first round. The same thing happened at this event where Tom Aspinall injures his knee after throwing a leg kick. As soon as he stepped back on that leg, on his rear leg, he crumbled, held his knee, and it was over 15 seconds into the first round. Last week, it was 4:11 into the first round. This week, it's literally within the first half a minute, 15 seconds into the first round. So this was a very telling fight, though. As short as it was, which is ridiculously short, like ridiculously short. It was actually a pretty telling fight. I think Tom Aspinall was about to lose anyways because he opens up the fight very aggressive. He comes out hot and he gets tagged up. Curtis Blades lands a nice two-piece on him, and Aspinall lands a nice leg kick and then gets out of the way. And then he goes in, throw another combination, followed by a leg kick, which gets hit twice again, pretty hard, and then he falls back on his leg and the fight's over. What I saw is, like I said, Aspinall came out hot in this fight, and he got tagged up a lot. Like every time Chris Curtis, Jesus Christ, he was in the co-main event, excuse me, Curtis Blades tried to hit him, he did hit him. And Curtis Blades does have some pretty heavy hands. And if he's going to win the opening exchanges on the feet, I feel like he could have secured takedowns if the fight went later. Yeah, so it's very rare you have a 15-second fight that's actually telling, especially with an anticlimactic and somewhat controversial ending. But no, I think Curtis Blades was on his way to a win. He stops the most impressive record-breaking streak to start a heavyweight career. As he could have. That was a really impressive performance by Curtis Blades. It sucks to have a win by injury, but that was a really impressive win by him. Jack Hermanson and Chris Curtis in the co-main event. This wasn't the fight a lot of people predicted it to be. I'm pretty sure Curtis was a slight underdog coming in. He's filling in for Darren Till, as most of us know. I said going into this fight, I'm just as excited for this fight as I was when Hermanson was fighting Till. Now I kind of wish Till wouldn't have injured himself and came into the fight, because Jack Hermanson handily pieced him up for 3 rounds. So handily. Like, his wide array of strikes, like he's always been a kind of herky-jerky like striker to me. You know, kind of like Darren Elkins or like Keith Jardine, if any of y'all remember him. But dude, he looked like a technician tonight. And his fucking switch kick to the lead leg of Curtis, his wrong kicks to the head, his nasty wrong kicks to the body. He hurt Chris Curtis in the second round with a wrong kick to the head. His jumping switch front kicks up the middle. Like, dude, it was super confusing for Curtis. And you could see the frustration growing on him as the minutes went on. He couldn't do anything about it. He came in with a boxing-centered game plan. And, yeah, it cost him. He falls to 3-1 inside the octagon with a defeat to Jack Hermanson today at UFC London. Got some root beer moonshine here. It's not very good. The feature fight of the night, Paddy Pimblett and Jordan Levitt. No, this wasn't the most exciting fight, but looking back on it, it was pretty exciting. So Levitt comes out, and man, he's got a deceiving strength. Like, he does not look strong. He don't look tough or durable. But he was very clearly the stronger party of the two once the fight began, and especially when we saw the start of the second round. So most of the first round, Levitt has Paddy up against the fence trying to secure a takedown. Now, he does secure a takedown pretty early. Paddy gets up. He tries for another takedown. Paddy jumps on a guillotine choke, and it doesn't really look like it's close to being finished. As Levitt is in Paddy's half guard. but Paddy gets his guard back, and it does look like it's being pretty close to being finished, but Levitt breaks his grip and remains on top, and then Paddy is able to get up and, get pressed into the fence some more. And then toward the end of the first round, a scramble ensues, and Paddy ends up on top. He ends up taking Jordan Levitt's back and raining down some ground and pound. So it was a very interesting round. And then going into the second, this is when it was evident that Jordan Levitt is the stronger party of the two. He presses Paddy back into the fence again for like another minute and a half. He's able to keep him there for extended periods of time. And Paddy, in order to remedy it earlier on in the fight in the first round, he would use his elbows, and that really just caused Levitt to shoot in like stronger and deeper so he could get out of the way of the elbows. Well, in the second round, after trying some elbows that didn't really deter him, he locks up this like head and arm choke. It's like a reverse head and arm choke. It's like a rear naked choke, but with an arm in. He's got Jordan Levitt in on his legs against the fence, and he reaches over and gets his arms wrapped kind of like a rear naked choke, but with an arm in. And this doesn't do much. He does get the hold tighter and tighter as the seconds go on, but it opens up a vicious knee that Paddy landed right to the temple of Jordan that dropped him instantly. And he proceeded to take his back. He wraps up one of Jordan Levitt's arms in the body triangle, and then he's got one arm to defend a rear naked choke with. He couldn't do it, and Paddy ends up submitting him in the second round. So there's a couple things to be said about this. One, Jordan Levitt has lost once prior to this. He was 10-1 coming into the contest. His only loss was to Claudio Puelles. He didn't get submitted by him. Claudio Puelles is a wicked grappler. He has the most knee bar finishes in UFC history with 3. I think he probably has the most leg lock finishes in UFC history too, considering Ryan Hall never followed up his Ultimate Fighter run with like similar performances in the UFC. Yeah, dude. Pimblett, he's a first-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before he's even 30 years old for a reason. And he is no stranger to adversity. He doesn't mind adversity. He dealt with adversity in both of his first 2 UFC fights, both of which ended up becoming late first-round finishes. But he dealt with adversity in both of them, came back strong, passed with flying colors. He did that exact same thing tonight. The first time Paddy Pimblett went past the first round in the UFC, and again, passes with flying colors. I am so excited to see his future. Like, man, I get so excited every time Paddy Pimblett fights. Honestly, I think he should have been the co-main event tonight after Darren Till fell out. But nonetheless, he gets a very good win in the feature fight of the night. Nikita Krylov and Alexander Gustafsson, man, this was a sad fight, I'll tell you. Like, Krylov came out and hurt Gustafsson right out of the jump. He drops him like the first 10-15 seconds of the fight. And he never gives Gustafsson a chance to recover. As he shouldn't, but he never gives Gustafsson a chance to recover. And he just throws a wide array of strikes, from body kicks to head kicks to punches to the head and body, knees to the body and head. Like, dude, he fucking mauled the mauler in this fight and got a KO finish at 67 seconds into the first round. It's like, man, I was so excited to see Alexander Gustafsson debut at heavyweight. I wanted to see him at heavyweight for a while because I thought that his boxing, speed, and footwork would do him very well in that division. Well, he fought like the best grappler the heavyweight division has ever seen, not named Frank Mir anyways, or Alexei Oleinik maybe, and Fabricio Verdum. And yeah, he got armbarred pretty early in round 1. Well, this was so much worse. That was like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And man, he just got ran right through. Like, remember when that Anthony Johnson spoiled Alexander Gustafsson's homecoming like a while back after he lost to John Jones, beat Jimmy Manuwa, and then he was going into his fight with Rumble, and Rumble just ran right through him? Well, this was at least 3 times as bad as that. Like, at least. Like, Krylov completely fucked him up. And it was sad to see, man. Krylov is a dangerous man. He is 28-9 as a professional. One of his last couple losses to Glover Teixeira by split decision. He could have easily gotten the nod in that fight. It was so close. And 28 wins, 27 finishes. He's a dangerous man. And Alexander Gustafsson is now 18-8 as a professional. He lost his last 4 fights, got finished in his last 4 fights. Man, it was sad to see. One of the best, if not the best fighter ever to have never won a belt. And the last couple times he's returned, man, turned up real disappointing first round finish defeats. Molly McCann, she might be the story of this card. This card kind of sucked, I'll be honest. And I thought it was going to. Like, I'm probably the only person to come out and admit that. I wish I would have uploaded my pre-fight I recorded. I didn't have time to, because I said it. I was like, this card's probably going to suck. And I said that because the last time the UFC went to London, it was fucking sick. Every fight delivered. And then they stacked the card this high. I was like, dude, this card, it's going to be cursed. And it kind of was. But Molly McCann, holy fuck, man. So she comes out and is doing well with her boxing early on. So Goldie presses her into the fence and tries to take her down. Goldie's strength is pretty evident early on. She's able to hold McCann there for a minute or two until McCann separates, and she lands a nasty overhand right eventually that stuns Goldie while she closes the distance as Goldie is backing away from her toward the fence. Like, well, they're back to the fence, obviously, but she's backing away from her. And McCann, as soon as she gets into the range, she throws a nasty spinning elbow. And honestly, it was probably nastier than the one she knocked Luana Carolina out with in March. Like, because she really put everything into this one. She set it up, and Goldie didn't see it coming because she was hurt. So she, like, Carolina was not hurt before that. She had to set it up well. Well, she put all of her force into this one and stuns her worse, and then finishes the fight a couple seconds later with a boxing combo. And oh my God, dude, it's remarkable to me. Like, Molly McCann is going to become a fucking superstar off of this, because first off, she's already got knockout of the year locked up as far as I'm concerned. She did that in the first 3 months of the year with her fucking KO, third round KO over Luana Carolina earlier in the year at the first UFC London card that I mentioned was so great a couple minutes ago. Well, going into that fight, she was 11-4. Okay. And since losing her UFC debut, getting finished by Jillian Robertson, she got submitted by her in the second round. Since then, she had gone 4-2. All 6 fights went the distance. All 6 fights went to decisions. Obviously, 4 of them went her way via unanimous decision, and 2 of them went the opposite way via unanimous decision. Well, she ends that skid in March with this vicious spinning back elbow KO, like, which was ridiculously impressive. And then she follows it up with a first round knockout in which she sets up with an overhand right, but also lands that spinning back elbow, and then finishes up with some more punches to get the finish. Like, 2 knockouts in a row for Molly McCann. Like, she's becoming quite the entertaining talent. At 32 years old, she looks like she's just now coming into her peak. And honestly, I don't usually say this about women fighters. Sometimes I do. Not usually, though. I can't wait to see Molly McCann fight again. Like, holy shit, that was insane. Volkan Ozdemir versus Paul Craig. This was a very disappointing fight, primarily because I'm a Paul Craig fan. I'm a huge Paul Craig fan. I fucking love that dude. He was 5-0-1 in his last 6 coming into this fight after starting out his UFC career with a 2-4 record, or 3-4. I think he's 3-4. He came over with a record of 8-0, won his debut, and then went 2-4, and then fell to 11-4. So yeah, he was 3-4 through his first 7. Then after that, 5-0-1 in his last 6, avenging the draw. Well, I think he played his guard game too much in this fight. I think he pulled guard too much. And normally I don't say that about Paul Craig, because everybody he pulls guard against, he can submit. Well, Volkan Ozdemir was too smart for that. He wasn't about to play in Paul Craig's guard. Paul Craig did almost secure a heel hook in the first round. He actually became closer to it than I thought he would. But Ozdemir, that was the only time he played the ground game with Craig. And every time Craig pulled guard, which was multiple times, all 3 rounds, Volkan Ozdemir just stood up right up out of it, and Craig was on his back getting up pretty much the whole fight. Now, what I have to say about this, toward the end of the first round, Craig landed a nice boxing combination and then landed a head kick on Ozdemir. And you saw glimpses throughout the second and third round too that showed Ozdemir outstriking him. But honestly, I think that's just because Craig was going for the takedown and the guard pulls so often. Like, it gave him a chance to outstrike him. Like, Paul Craig's striking is so much better than I thought it was. Like, he actually looked really good on the feet against Ozdemir. If he would have just dedicated at least 50% of his energy to the striking in this fight, I think he would have got the win. His chin is also better than I expected it to be too, because I've seen him get knocked out 3 times. He's lost 4 times. I've seen him get knocked out in 3 of them. And his chin held up. His chin held up. He did act like he got hurt like twice in one round. I think it was the second round. But I don't think he was actually hurt. It didn't look like he was actually hurt. It looked like he was trying to bait Ozdemir into his guard. But man, yeah, Volkan Ozdemir, I did predict him to win this fight. I was like, as long as he's smart, he should win this fight. He's a better striker, and he's very hard to take down. Paul Craig, as good as he is of a grappler, he's not a great wrestler. And that's kind of what we saw tonight. So, man, if I was Paul Craig's team, I'd be like, kickbox with him. Kickbox with him. Don't attempt more than 2 takedowns around. He's going to expect it. Just kickbox with him. You're doing so great on the feet. But, man, he didn't do it. And hopefully he learns from it and comes back because, man, I want to see so many more Paul Craig fights. He's so fun to watch. Going into this fight, the prelims, there were 8 preliminary fights. 7 of them went the distance. And then Ozdemir versus Craig also went the distance. So 8 of the first 9 fights went the distance, which is why I said, like, this was kind of a lackluster card, especially if you're a casual fan. But Ludovic Klein completely shut down Mason Jones in that fight. And I've had such high hopes for Mason Jones. Dude, he came into this fight with a record of 11-1 with a no contest. He came to the UFC with a record of 10-0. He fell to 10-1 and then 10-1 with a no contest. A lot of people could argue he could have been 12-0 or should have been 12-0 after those 2 fights were over. He could have very easily been 13-0 coming into this fight. Because he was dominating Alan Patrick in that fight that went to a no contest. And against Mike Jones in his debut, a lot of people think he won that fight, including myself. So, but dude, Ludovic Klein, he just completely shut the former Cage Warriors champ down. And this was a fight card full of Cage Warriors champions, by the way. Like Jack Hermanson, Paddy Pimblett, Molly McCann. Paul Craig is a Bama champion. Mason Jones, Nathaniel Wood, Jai Herbert, Nicholas Dalby. I'm sorry if I missed anyone. I'm pretty sure I covered all of them. That's like 6 or 7 Cage Warriors champions that were on this card. Another one of them, another Bama champion on the card was Mark Jacasey, who had a less than entertaining but incredibly impressive win over Damir Hadzovic tonight. Now, I thought he should have just played the fight on the feet. I think he's a better striker than Hadzovic. I think most people would agree that. But after losing some stand-up fights, after losing some fights that have played out entirely on the feet, he's really began to work on his wrestling, like Jason Jackson, who competed and defeated former multi-time Bellator welterweight champion Douglas Lima last night. Mark Jacasey, like Jason Jackson, has gone to the point where he can take a lot of dudes down and just completely maul them. Like, it's actually pretty remarkable because they did not start out as wrestlers. And yeah, Jacasey did this to a kickboxing champion in his last fight. Well, now he did it to someone that can actually wrestle. Damir Hadzovic isn't great anywhere, but he is good everywhere. He can wrestle, he can box, he can kickbox, He's good everywhere. And Jacasey, this was every bit as effortless of a performance as his last fight was. Honestly, like, I'd expect to see this Jacasey come out more often. Like, he can out-wrestle guys. He knows it now. And he's like, this is a safe way to win. So he improves his win streak to 2 straight with this one over Hadzovic. Nathaniel Wood beat the living piss out of Charles Rosa. He dropped Charles Rosa 7 times in this fight, 6 times of which were via leg kick. He also secured 3 foot sweeps on him. He just made Rosa look dumb this whole fight and absolutely dominated him. So that was a really good win for Nathaniel Wood to pick up in his featherweight debut, his new division of 145 pounds. Jonathan Pierce versus Makwan Amirkhani, the first fight that ended in a finish on the card. And this is another reason it sucked for me because I love Makwan Amirkhani, and the only finish through the first 9 fights was him getting finished. Yeah, man, Pierce is really good. He's won his last 4 straight now with 3 finishes, and he has so many finishes in the second round too. Like, he's 13-4. He's finished 11 of those fights, and 7 of them were finished in the second round. Now, he's won his last 4 fights with 3 finishes in the UFC after losing his UFC debut to Joe Lozon. That makes him 4-1 in the UFC. All 3 of those finishes in the UFC also come in the second round. He's good at making adjustments. What can you say? And Makwan Amirkhani, this is a problem he's had ever since I started watching him after he knocked out Andy Ogle. he fades as the fight goes on. I question how much he wants it. Like, he's a model. He makes money elsewhere. I really question how much he wants it. He's a really slick grappler, and he tried for that trademark anaconda choke in the first round, but Pierce was wise to it, and he ends up taking Mac 1 down in the second round and just pounding the shit out of him to get the stoppage at 4:10 of the second. Muhammad Makayev had a really impressive performance tonight. He opened up looking incredibly sharp and fast and accurate on the feet. He was landing a lot of punches. His boxing looked great, but after that, he just decided to wrestle the whole time, which also worked out for him. But I feel like he could have got the finish if he would have just boxed him. I don't know. This kid is 1 week away from turning 22 years old. Like, it's crazy. This Muhammad Makayev was born in 2000, and he is this good. He is this dominant. Charles Johnson coming into this fight was 11-2. Okay, like, man, Muhammad Makayev is a future champion, and he may become the youngest UFC champion in history. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. He's so good. He's so technical everywhere, too. Like, he's a force. Jai Herbert picked up a good win over Kyle Nelson. Both talents were 1-3 in the UFC coming into this fight. Herbert was 11-4, and Nelson was 13-4. Herbert was 10-1 coming to the UFC. Nelson was 12-1. They're both gone 1-3. Both picked up a TKO win in their lone win. Both were finished in all 3 defeats with 2 knockouts and a submission. It was actually a really good job of matchmaking. There were so many parallels going into this fight, and Herbert was able to pull it out, get the unanimous decision victory. I was happy to see that. And then Nicholas Dalby versus Claudio Silva. You know, Claudio Silva was kind of like the boogeyman of the welterweight division for a while there. Now, there were a couple really long extended periods where he had to take breaks from injuries, but for the longest time, other than Kamaru Usman, he was the only guy to beat Leon Edwards inside the octagon. And he's still the only guy to beat Leon Edwards inside the octagon, except for Kamaru Usman, actually. Regardless of what happens in his rematch with Usman for the belt, that fact will remain the same. He improved his UFC record to 5-0 with 3 submissions, improving his professional record to 14-1. Now he's lost his last 3 straight, but he came out in this fight looking very good. He was controlling Dalby. It looked like he was on his way to a decision win, or maybe even a submission. Like, he had Dalby mounted. Like, he looked great, and he got tired. He got fatigued, and Dalby came back and got, he got the decision win, which is good for him. He's now 20-4 with a draw in 2 no contests as a professional, and Silva's now lost his last 3 straight. So I think this might be close to the end of the road for him. What do you guys think of UFC London? It wasn't quite as good as many of us anticipated, but there were still a few really, really cool outcomes and one unfortunate outcome in the main event. But like I said, I really feel like Blades was on his way to stopping Tom Aspinall anyway. Like, every time Aspinall got close enough, Curtis Blades hit him, and hard. So that's my recap. I appreciate you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like the channel. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.